In today's video, I want to help you guys to unlock maximum damage on the Temporal Vortex, this being one of the most important daily content that we have to do in Dragonheir daily. I do think that it deserves a bit of extra work, so I'll be sharing the best tips with you guys for the Temporal Vortex in today's video. Plus, we do have a giveaway. You will get a chance to win Heliolite Dice, Wire Marrow, Scrolls, so stay tuned for it. We're gonna get to it in just a minute. Now, one thing that you should kind of pay attention to is Sheena and her total damage and the total damage from the entire team. Now, my team usually dies. This time around, we actually survived one extra cycle. We don't normally survive as much, but for whatever reason, we got lucky this time around. So keep an eye on Sheena. If you guys remember in the video that I mentioned before, I actually had a gambler set on Sheena. And I was curious if I'm going to change that set with an increased attack set. Will that actually count on Sheena when I'm landing a defense down with an artifact? Is that something that works? So that's kind of like the new discovery that does actually work and that does elevate the team overall, the damage for your entire team overall. 49.5 million damage from our team, and we survived 6 minutes and 48 seconds, but my main damage dealers died at 6 minutes and 20 seconds or so. We actually survived one extra cycle than we usually do. And these are the statistics right here. We have Sheena with 10.5 million damage. We have Gertin with 25.6. And we have Zorak with 11.2 million. So the damage is definitely not bad, but it can get better by changing one thing. Now, I'm quickly going to talk about the giveaway, guys. Then we're going to dive back into the Vortex tips. I do have a giveaway going on at the moment in my Discord, guys. If you haven't joined my Discord yet, the link is in the description down below, or I'm going to put a link in the pinned comment. Jump over. We have a lot of awesome people. We're constantly discussing strategies, themes for dungeons, Vortex, world bosses, pretty much everything that you need. And right here, we have the giveaway channel, guys. You're going to have a chance to win 3 Heliolite Dice, 3 Scholar Scrolls, 300 Wire Marrow. So we have 10 winners for these guys. You're going to get a chance to maybe summon your most wanted legendary or maybe your most wanted epic champion. All you got to do to enter the giveaways, be a subscriber of the channel, jump in Discord, guys, and make sure you head over to the giveaway hype. We have approximately 20 hours left for the giveaway, if I'm not mistaken, and then it will end. And you got to come right here and click on this emoji to react. You see, not this one below. You got to click on this one right here at the top if you want to enter the giveaway. Let me just make sure I'm leaving the giveaway because I don't want to win myself. So 10 winners for this. When you are joining the Discord, you will only have literally a few pages unlocked right here. Rules and welcome, if I'm not mistaken. So make sure you guys are checking the rules and react with this emoji to gain access to the entire server. If no, you won't be in. And yeah, definitely jump in the giveaway, guys. Don't miss out. So this is the damage that we have with Sheena on the current build that she has. So how I mentioned, a gambler set. But let me show you one thing that will actually work even better and will elevate your damage. How I mentioned at the beginning, it's crucial for a lot of you guys to get the damage to 1 key, right? So you might be lacking 1 million. You might be lacking 2 millions to get you to the 25. Well, hopefully, this strategy, it will allow you to get the right damage. So these are her total stats, are pretty good stats, honestly. And yeah, not the craziest stats in a gambler set, but still very good stats overall. So what I'm gonna do right now, guys, is take a different, put a different set on her. We're gonna go and take the Cyril's Whisper, and this will actually give us increased attack when we land a debuff. Now, a lot of us will be in the situation where we have some pretty awesome champions in the team, but we don't really have anyone debuffing, and that might cause us some sort of issues because, hey, we cannot use this set without debuffs. And that's what I was curious about the other day. I was like, can we actually make this set to proc when we land the defense down with the artifact? Is that a thing? Right? So this is actually working, guys. And surprisingly, you might be losing some damage from Sheena, but you will be gaining damage for the rest of the team because gaining a 15% increased attack for 10 seconds whenever we are landing a debuff is massive. Now, if you have even better teams to run that set, better champions to run the set on, you know, in different teams that land debuffs with the battle skill, with the ultimate skill, you can actually keep it up even for a longer duration, you know. But let's actually jump into the run and show you how this will play out. We might not watch the entire run, guys, because it will take like 6 minutes. But I will kind of like mention a couple of different things while we are doing this. So when you are picking your core team for the Vortex, regardless if you're going with Fire, regardless if you're going with Poison, regardless if you're going with Dauntless or Radiance, whatever champions you guys might have available, you need to kind of like look at all of your champions and be like, okay, I have decent support for this team. I have good damage dealers for this elemental affinity. I can make this work. You need to weigh all your options and take everything into consideration, because if you have the best damage dealers and you have literally no support, you won't be able to perform very well. If you have amazing support but no damage dealers, again, you will be pretty much having the same sort of issue. So finding the right balance for your team is mandatory, okay? So if you are going, for example, with a team like this, you will need to have Garius as a main healer in here, because you don't really have that many other options that will blow your mind with a healing like his, you know? And then you need to have a cleanser for difficulty 4. You need to have a block debuffs, or you need to completely ignore that part, have decreased attack, have shield, and potentially increase defense, and ignore the part of the boss lands defense down on me, because you can mitigate that if you have the right buffs and the right debuffs on the boss. So these are kind of like different options. Now, how you may notice, I am not running decreased attack on my team. And the reason why I'm not doing that is because I will have to drop one damage dealer, and I feel like I won't be getting enough value out of a decreased attack champion. Not with this elemental affinity combination. If I would have to bring in a Reyta instead of Zorak and still get a 5-man elemental affinity, I would be like, yeah, that's awesome, because I can do so many things with that champion. But I feel like generally it's just not worth it for most of the teams. And the way you mitigate the lack of the way you compensate for the lack of decreased attack is by having a shield. Now, in a team like this, the only way to really gain a shield is by having a legendary artifact on Garius. If you don't have that, you will need to have decreased attack, because without a shield you won't be surviving much. And you need to have some sort of excessive healing that will keep your team alive. Even if you are going with 2 damage dealers, it doesn't matter. As long as you have the right things in your team to kind of like give you everything that you need, you should be more than fine, okay? It's very, very important to take all this in consideration. The next one will be the timings on your champions. That, again, is very, very important to have it spot on. The boss has a cycle of 20 seconds. That's how long it takes him to rotate all his skills, and over and over and over and over again. Now you have one skill right here that is a single target hit, and that will prioritize the champion with the highest HP. Now preferably you want your tank to be that, because he has a higher defense compared to the rest of the champions, and he will be able to stay alive better. Then the rest of the skills are just double smacks, okay, with most of them, and they're all AoE. They hit pretty hard. You gotta make sure you are timing your skills to be spot on when we're talking about healing, shield, decrease attack. So if you are paying attention, the boss is passing the meter on right here, but the animation that he's actually dealing the damage comes only later. So this is not very accurate with when the boss is actually using his skills. I feel like the cycle needs to be a bit rotated and move all this a bit on the bar, so then it's spot on when he's actually hitting you. So if you're paying attention to that, you can actually manipulate that to your own favor. If you are putting decreased attack, for example, at 21.5 seconds on a 20-second cycle, you will be covering yourself with decreased attack for 3 skills. You will be covering this skill with decreased attack, this skill, and this skill. And you're only going to be left uncovered for this one right here, which does hit pretty hard though, so keep that in mind too. Or of course, you can time it a bit differently, add a few more seconds and time it to cover 1, 2, and 3, but then you're going to be uncovered for this big AoE. So you have quite a few different options on how you can play around with the skills. It's all up to how you are putting that timing in. hell, you can delay it to 31.5 seconds more or less and start putting decrease attack from here, here, and here, and then get smacked on this skill, which again, it does hit pretty hard too, you know. So they all tend to hit very, very equally, I would say, regardless if some of them might seem that they're not, you know. Then, if you are paying attention to my team, I feel like I've mentioned this quite a few times. I have Gillian on my team. She's always using this skill that she just used right now at 21.5 seconds. And that's exactly the millisecond before the boss hits you. So she's going to get a cleanse, the increased defense. In this way, my increased defense is going to be on for this hit, and for this hit right here. So I'm keeping the increased defense for 3 hits, and that mitigates a lot of damage. Not only that, it will help my main champion, my tank, to stay alive when he's actually getting hit by the single hit, you know, which is actually massive if you manage to keep him alive longer. Usually, I don't tend to struggle with my team staying alive. What was happening before was that my tank was dying from the single hit, while the rest of the team was still alive. But now, because I have no decreased attack, that's a bit of a different type of story, you know. So we are currently on stack 80. We have 47 million damage, 48. And if you are paying attention to Sheena, without having the Gambler set, she's almost at 9 million damage, a bit shy of 9 million damage. Now, how I mentioned, my team usually dies at the next cycle, you know. Of course, this time around, Zorak decided to die earlier, way earlier than before, so this will actually cost me damage. But you know what's the thing? I always tend to retry these runs a couple of times every single day anyway. This time around, we really got smacked way earlier than the previous run, so showing you the damage difference, it won't really be as accurate as I would like it to be, but I'm going to show you a different screenshot as well with different damage that I've dealt today, and we might get there if everything goes good, but it would have been so much better if the other 2 champions were going to survive just a little longer like they supposed to, you know? Because right now, we literally lost 2+ million damage because those champions decided to die early. So that is quite a bit of a difference. But at least you can see Sheena, who died, I think, 2 cycles earlier than in the previous run at 9.2 million damage. So I'm actually going to back out of here, right? So the damage drop is not that big. It's like 1 million and a bit, right? To change from a Gambler set to a different set on your character. Now, of course, if you're not bringing in the increased attack set, that you're not going to get this damage. The increased attack actually makes up a bit for the damage that we're losing by replacing the Gambler set on Sheena. And we're still actually improving our damage. Like, we just got 3 million extra damage and we died early, okay? We died early. If we were surviving the same, we were going to get at least 2 more million on top. You're almost gaining a 10% damage increase on the entire board, on the entire team, when you are dropping that Gambler set from the champion that lands the defense down. Now, of course, it might be a Inventor set on that character as well. The main thing is those characters, they tend to do less damage because they're not built heavily for damage. They require the accuracy. They don't have a crazy artifact to deal the damage. So instead, they are actually more of kind of like activators for the damage. So the rest of the champions do well. But we have Gertin right now with almost 30 million damage, 29. We have Zorak with 11.7. So he got a slight increase in damage, nothing too crazy. But Gertin actually got a massive increase in damage, you know. So if the team was surviving longer, they were all going to have a bit of a damage increase too. So this is tip number 1, guys. The most essential tip that I wanted to share with you guys. And it's kind of like a new discovery to me because I've just tested it a couple of days ago and I've seen it working. And that improved my damage by, how I mentioned, roughly 10%, which is massive because most of you guys will be struggling with the damage. Now, for example, the next thing that I kind of like want to mention is talking about a few different teams. So if you have a team like this, it's very important to pick the weakest champion as the champion that will do the defense down. And at the same time, you want to use champions that have multi-hits in the kit because each one of these 5 hits will have a chance to land the defense down from the artifact, which is massive. Regardless if it's the Crown of the Unclean or the Witch's Remains, it doesn't matter, you know. each hit will have a chance to land it. So he's almost like guaranteed to have defense down every time he's using the battle skill. Now, for me, Tonalyn in a team like this, she's much better. She deals more damage than Erich. So my weakest champion that will deal damage here and is good to put the defense down is going to be Erich. So he will get my Witch's Remains or Crown of the Unclean, while the other two champions will get the Inventor set, because that's the best this season to deal damage. In my opinion, is actually better than the Gambler, you know. Then you have Isolde, which lands decrease attack. And you might be wondering, Skratch, why don't you give her the Cyril set? Well, you know why? Because you want to get a different set on her. It's very important to get the right sets on all of your characters if you want to make sure that you're going to stay alive for a long time. So on your tank, you want to get the Ancestral Protection set. Not only that you will have a 15% damage reduction for your team, but this character will have a 15% damage reduction. So when the boss will use that single hit that slams your tank, you know, the tank will get a 15% damage reduction. So that will be massive for your champion, you know. So definitely keep that in mind. You want to have the Ancestral Protection set on your tank. It's almost mandatory, you know. So that's why we cannot run the Cyril set on the champion that puts the decrease attack, in this case, with her, you know. Same if you're running Flurbart, you still want to run the Ancestral Protection set. Then right here we have Adolphus. Now probably you're wondering, what can we do with Adolphus? He's not going to land debuffs. Well, on Adolphus, you definitely want to get this set. You want to get the Moonlight's Blessing, because this will actually give you healing whenever he's using the ultimate skill. So that will actually help your team to stay alive even longer. Of course, it will only benefit the ally with the lowest HP. But hey, that champion will survive longer because of this set. So on a champion like Adolphus, you want to have this set. In my case, I have it on Gillian in my team. She's the one that has the set, and she gives me extra healing whenever she's using the ultimate. So like this, I'm going to get to keep my squishiest champion alive a bit longer. Then, of course, the other two damage dealers, they need to have the Inventor set. That literally blasts in a lot of damage. You can go with Gambler if you think that you have a better Gambler than the Inventor. But honestly, I do feel like, at least for the Ice Blast, the Inventor is the MVP. And I feel like generally will be for most of the elemental affinities this season, you know. So we covered the gear sets, guys. Let's quickly talk a bit about the timings, right? So, for example, this is my team right here. Let's just say that that's what we're running. Timing every champion is important. So we're going to start with our decrease attack champion. We said that we're going to go for 21.5 seconds. Now, the boss has a 20-second cycle, so we want to keep the same speed with the boss to make sure we're not overlapping or we're not getting overlapped by the boss. Then, because I have Adolphus, he needs to put the shield after Isolde. So we're getting the healing too. So I can go 21.6. By the way, you can type, and that works. 21.6 is a time too. And again, we want to put it in 20 seconds. Then we have Erich putting defense down. Now, this is important. We want to maximize the damage from the rest of the characters. Now, Erich, he has a slow animation, right? It takes him probably a good 1 second to use all the 5 hits, all the meteorites to drop. So each one of the hits has a chance to land the defense down. Maybe we're going to get resisted on the 1, 2, 3, or the chances won't proc. And we need the 4th hit, which will drop at second 13. So because of it, we want to use the Tonalyn's ultimate skill at 13 seconds to start with. But again, we're going to put both of them on 20-second cycle. So like this, they will never get messed up. They will always use the skills in this order. And we'll always have that 1 second gap to ensure that the defense down is 100% sure landed on the boss before Tonalyn goes with the ultimate skill to maximize the damage. Then we have champions like Nida in here, which unfortunately we cannot time, guys, because she has a pretty crazy cooldown. I think is 9 seconds the cooldown, if I'm not mistaken, and this is on 16. So if I would put this to 20 seconds, I would basically handicap my champion. I don't want to time her, but I want to time the rest of them. And how I mentioned, play around with the timings. Each one of the champions, the teams, will require different timings. This is the timing for my wild team, as an example. You've seen how much one set can actually impact your team. 10% damage. Then adding the healing set, adding the right artifacts, adding the right champions to have the right synergy in the team is very, very important to create the perfect team and maximize your damage. Hopefully you found this video helpful. Appreciate every single one of you guys watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.